You wake before dawn, though you did not choose to. The choice was made for you weeks ago, months ago, years ago, by a structure so embedded in the rhythm of your household that it no longer feels like a rule. It simply is. The darkness outside your window is complete, unbroken by street lamps in any meaningful way, and the cold has crept through every seam of the house during the night. You do not stretch. You do not lie still for a moment of peace. You rise because to do otherwise would be to begin the day already behind, already failing, already marked by a kind of moral weakness that has no name but is understood by everyone. The chemise you slept in is damp with cold sweat, not from fever, but from the sheer weight of blankets needed to survive the night. And now you must remove it in a room so cold you can see your breath. There is no privacy, not really. The maid will enter soon, or perhaps your sister or your mother, and the idea of locking a door in a household like this one is unthinkable. Locks are for keeping others out, and you are not meant to keep anyone out. You are meant to be available, visible, accountable. The chemise comes off. The cold air strikes your skin. You do not cry out. You have learned not to. The undergarments go on in layers. The first is a new chemise, this one starched, cleaned, appropriate for the day. Then the drawers, loose linen that pools around your legs and ties at the waist, offering a whisper of modesty that no one will see, but that you would be ruined without. Then the corset. You have worn a corset since you were 13, and the boning has shaped your body in ways you no longer fully remember predating. The corset is not optional. It is not a fashion choice. It is the foundation of respectability, the architecture beneath every dress, the thing that makes you a woman of standing rather than a woman of the streets. You place it around your torso. The maid enters without knocking. She never knocks. She laces the corset from behind, pulling with practiced efficiency, and you breathe in as much air as you can before the laces tighten past a point of comfort. The pressure begins immediately. Not pain, not yet, but pressure. Your ribs compress inward. Your lungs discover new limits. You will wear this corset for 16 hours today, possibly 18, possibly until you collapse into bed tonight with red grooves across your skin and a spine that aches in ways you cannot fully describe to anyone because everyone already knows. The maid pulls tighter. You place your hand on the bedpost for balance. She ties the laces off with a small, satisfied sound, and you are sealed inside your own body now, held upright by whalebone and cotton casing, your organs rearranged into a shape deemed acceptable by people you have never met and never will. Over the corset, a corset cover to protect the outer garments from the sweat and oils of your skin. Then the petticoats, 4 of them today, because it is winter and because you are visiting someone this afternoon, and because anything less would suggest poverty, carelessness, a lack of respect for the social order. Each petticoat is tied at the waist. Each one adds weight. By the time the 4th is secured, you are carrying an extra 15 pounds of fabric that will move with you, tangle around your legs, catch on furniture, require constant management. Then the crinoline cage, a structure of hoops and steel that forces the petticoats outward into the fashionable bell shape. And this addition is a relief in some ways because it creates space between your legs and the fabric. But it is also a cage in the most literal sense. You cannot sit in most chairs now. You cannot pass through narrow doorways without turning sideways. You cannot move quickly or suddenly without the entire structure swaying and betraying your loss of control. The dress comes last. It is wool, dark, modest. The neckline is high. The sleeves are long and tight at the wrists. The bodice buttons up the back, which means you cannot dress yourself, cannot undress yourself, cannot exist independently of another person's hands. The maid buttons each one, 37 in total, and you stand perfectly still because this is what is required. Your body is no longer entirely yours. It is a collaboration between yourself, your maid, your dressmaker, your mother, your society. You are being assembled. By the time you are dressed, 40 minutes have passed, and you have not yet eaten or spoken or done anything but submit to the process of becoming presentable. Your hair is still undone. That will take another 30 minutes. The maid begins pinning it up in a style that requires your natural hair to be invisible, replaced by a smooth, controlled shape that suggests you have no wildness, no individuality, no body that grows things without permission. Hairpins dig into your scalp. You do not flinch. The flinching stopped years ago. You descend the stairs carefully, one hand on the banister, the crinoline swaying with each step. The boning of the corset does not bend when you bend, and so you have learned to move differently, to negotiate with your own skeleton. The breakfast room is cold. The fire has only just been lit. Your father is already seated, reading a newspaper, and he does not look up when you enter. Your mother is arranging food on her plate with the careful precision of someone who understands that eating is a performance, not a relief. You sit. The chair is hard. The crinoline compresses awkwardly beneath you, and you must reach back to adjust it slightly, a small, humiliating gesture that everyone pretends not to see. Breakfast is porridge, toast, tea. You are hungry in a way that is vast and persistent, the kind of hunger that has been with you for years, but you do not eat quickly. You do not eat much. To eat heartily is to suggest appetite. An appetite is animal, and you are not an animal. You are a lady. You take small bites. You chew slowly. You sip your tea with your lips barely parted. Across the table your brother eats with enthusiasm, piling food onto his plate, finishing and taking more. And no one remarks on this because he is a man and his appetite is natural, healthy, expected. Your appetite is a problem to be managed. Your mother speaks. She reminds you of the visit this afternoon, the family you will call upon, the importance of making a good impression. You nod. You have heard this before. You will hear it again. The visit is not for pleasure. It is reconnaissance. The family has a son. The son is of marriageable age. You are of marriageable age. This is not a coincidence. Your mother does not say this directly, but her tone says it. Her emphasis says it. The way she examines your dress and hair and posture says it. You are being prepared for evaluation. After breakfast, there are hours to fill before the visit, and these hours are not empty, but they are not full either. You are not idle. Idleness is moral failure, but you are also not engaged in work that produces anything of value in the way your father's work produces value or your brother's studies produce value. You sit in the drawing room with your mother and your sister, and you embroider. The needle is small, the thread is fine. The pattern is intricate and decorative and will serve no functional purpose. You have been embroidering since you were 6 years old. You have produced hundreds of these pieces, doilies, handkerchiefs, pillowcases, samplers. They sit in drawers. They are given as gifts. They prove that you are patient, delicate, capable of sustained focus on something beautiful and useless. Your mother watches your stitches. She does not compliment them, but she does not criticize them either, which means they are acceptable. Your sister, younger by 3 years, struggles with her pattern and size, and your mother corrects her immediately. The sigh is too loud, too expressive. It suggests frustration, and frustration suggests that one is not perfectly content with one's role, and that is dangerous. Your sister swallows the next sigh. You hear it catch in her throat. The clock ticks. You have been embroidering for an hour. Your back aches from the corset and from the posture required to keep your work neat. You shift slightly in your chair, and the movement is so minor it would be invisible to anyone not watching closely, but your mother is always watching closely. She says nothing. She does not need to. You still. At 11 o'clock, the maid brings tea, and you set aside your embroidery to pour. Pouring tea is a skill. The angle of the pot, the height from which the tea falls, the amount of milk, the timing of the sugar, all of it is observed, judged, understood as evidence of your fitness to manage a household. You pour 3 cups. You do it perfectly. This is not because you are naturally talented at pouring tea. This is because you have poured tea every day for 10 years, and the alternative to perfection is shame. You drink your tea. You do not enjoy it exactly. Enjoyment is not the framework within which you experience most of your day. You complete it. The tea is hot and slightly bitter, and it fills your stomach in a way that breakfast did not. And this is good because lunch will be small and dinner will be hours away. You set the cup down silently. The saucer does not rattle. You have trained yourself out of clumsiness. Your mother announces that it is time to prepare for the visit. You rise, the embroidery is folded and placed in its basket. You follow your mother upstairs, where the maid is already waiting to assess your appearance, to repair whatever damage the morning has done. Your hair is repinned. Your dress is examined for lint, for wrinkles, for any sign of wear. Your gloves are brought out, kidskin, pale, tight enough that you must work each finger in slowly. The gloves will stay on for the entirety of the visit. You will not eat with them on, but you will drink tea with them on, and this requires a particular kind of care, a way of holding the cup that does not stain the fabric. The carriage is called. You are handed up into it by a footman who does not meet your eyes. The carriage is cold despite the blankets. You sit with your back straight, your hands folded in your lap, your crinoline arranged so it does not crush awkwardly against the seat. Your mother sits across from you. She is silent. The silence is not peaceful. It is anticipatory. You are being transported toward judgment. The streets pass slowly. The carriage rocks and jolts over uneven cobblestones, and each jolt compresses your corset further into your ribs, but you do not brace yourself visibly. You absorb each impact with the practiced stillness of someone who has learned that reaction is a form of failure. Through the small window, you see other carriages, other women, shop fronts, men in dark coats moving with purpose. You are not moving with purpose. You are moving toward performance. The house you arrive at is large, well-kept, the kind of house that announces its own respectability through the cleanliness of its steps and the polish of its door. You are handed down from the carriage. The cold air is sharp, and you are grateful for it, briefly, because it is the first thing you have felt in hours that is not mediated by fabric or bone or expectation. Then you are inside, and the gratitude vanishes. The entrance hall is warm, overwarm. thick with the smell of coal fires and wax and something floral that has been applied too liberally. A servant takes your cloak. You are led into the drawing-room, where the lady of the house is waiting with her daughter and her son. The son is the reason you are here. Everyone knows this. No one says this. You are introduced. You curtsy. The curtsy must be neither too shallow nor too deep. Too shallow suggests arrogance. Too deep suggests desperation. You have calibrated your curtsy over years of practice, and it lands precisely in the middle, in the narrow band of acceptability. The son bows. He is tall, mustached, formal. He looks at you briefly, and in that brief look, you understand that you are being appraised for suitability. Your face, your posture, your dress, your dowry, your family, your ability to manage a household and produce heirs and remain pleasant under strain. You look back at him and understand that you are expected to appraise him as well, but you are not expected to express your appraisal, and you are certainly not expected to reject him. Your role is to be acceptable and to accept. You sit. Tea is served. The lady of the house pours, and you watch her technique, filing it away for future reference. The conversation begins. It is not a real conversation. It is a script that everyone has memorized. The weather is discussed. The health of mutual acquaintances is discussed. The upcoming season is discussed. You contribute small, appropriate remarks. You smile when expected. You laugh softly at a joke the son makes, even though the joke is not funny, because the laughter is not about humor. It is about signaling ease, charm, the ability to make a man feel clever. The son asks you about your interests. This is a test. If you say you have no interests, you seem dull. If you express interest too passionately, you seem unbalanced. You mention embroidery, reading, music. These are the correct answers. He nods approvingly. He does not ask what you read or what you play. The specifics do not matter. What matters is that you have interests that are decorative, quiet, domestic. The tea lasts an hour. Every minute of that hour is measured, controlled. You do not shift in your seat. You do not scratch an itch. You do not let your gaze wander. You remain locked in the performance, and the performance is so familiar by now that it feels almost like autopilot, except that autopilot suggests ease, and there is no ease here. There is only the constant low hum of vigilance, the awareness that every word, every gesture, every flicker of expression is being read for signs of defect. When the visit ends, you rise with the same careful grace with which you sat. You curtsy again. The son bows again. His mother smiles at your mother in a way that suggests approval, or at least the absence of immediate disqualification. You are led back to the carriage. The cold air strikes you again. You breathe it in, and for a moment the corset feels impossibly tight, and you wonder what it would be like to breathe fully, to expand your ribs as far as they can go, to fill your lungs to capacity. Then you are inside the carriage, and the moment passes. Your mother speaks. The visit went well. You performed adequately. This is high praise. You nod. You do not feel relief. Relief would require the possibility that the visit might not have gone well, and that possibility is not available to you. The visit had to go well. The alternative is a kind of slow social death, a drifting into spinsterhood, a future of dependence and pity and diminishment. The carriage takes you home. You are helped down. You enter the house. The afternoon is not yet over. There are still hours to fill. You return to the drawing-room. You return to the embroidery. The needle moves in and out of the fabric. The pattern grows. The light outside begins to fade. Dinner is at 7. You change your dress first because the dress you wore for the visit is now contaminated by the outside world and must be replaced with something clean, something appropriate for the contained privacy of the family meal. The maid unlaces the old dress. She laces the new one. You have now been dressed and undressed and dressed again, and your body has been handled by other hands so many times today that you have begun to lose track of where your autonomy ends and their labor begins. Dinner is served in the dining room, a room used only for this purpose, a room that is cold and formal and arranged according to principles you did not invent and cannot change. You sit in your assigned seat. The food is brought out in courses. The soup is thin and salty. You eat it slowly, your spoon moving from bowl to mouth in a rhythm that is neither hurried nor languid. Your father speaks about politics, about business, about things that do not concern you and that you are not expected to have opinions on. Your brother responds. They debate. You listen. Your silence is not absence. It is presence of a particular kind, the presence of an audience, a witness, a decoration. The second course is fish. The third is meat. The fourth is pudding. You eat a small portion of each. You are still hungry when the meal ends, but hunger is a constant companion by now, so familiar that it barely registers as discomfort. It is simply the state of being a woman who eats appropriately. After dinner, the men retire to the study for port and cigars. You and your mother and your sister retire to the drawing room for tea and, once again, embroidery. The evening stretches ahead. There is no event tonight, no entertainment, no reason to expect anything other than more of the same. You embroider. Your mother reads. Your sister plays a few scales on the piano softly so as not to disturb anyone who might be trying to think or rest or exist in peace. At 9 o'clock, your mother announces that it is time to retire. You fold your embroidery, you climb the stairs. The maid is waiting. She unlaces your dress. She unlaces your corset. The relief is so immense that it is almost painful, a rush of blood and breath and sensation that makes you dizzy for a moment. You steady yourself. The corset is removed. The petticoats are removed. The crinoline is removed. You are stripped down to your chemise again, and your body, freed from the architecture of the day, feels strange and unfamiliar, too soft, too shapeless. You wash your face with cold water from the basin. You do not wash your body. Full baths are infrequent, reserved for once a week if you are fortunate, less often if water or fuel are scarce. You clean what is visible, your hands, your neck, your face, and the rest remains as it is, layered with the sweat and oil and invisible residue of the day. You put on your nightgown. You take down your hair, and the relief of this is second only to the removal of the corset. Your scalp aches where the pins dug in. You brush your hair with long, slow strokes, and this is the first thing you have done all day that feels like it is for you, except that it is not really for you. It is maintenance. It is preparation for tomorrow, when your hair will need to be clean and smooth and controllable. You climb into bed. The sheets are cold. The blankets are heavy. You lie still, your body slowly warming the space around you, and you think about the day that has just ended and the day that will begin in a few hours, and how little difference there is between them. You think about the visit, the sun, the possibility that in a few months or a year you will be married and living in a different house, but performing the same rituals, wearing the same corset, pouring the same tea, moving through the same script with different actors. You close your eyes. Sleep does not come immediately. Your mind is too active, too aware of the silence, the cold, the weight of the blankets, the faint sounds of the house settling. You think about what it would be like to refuse, to say no to the corset, the dress, the visit, the performance. But refusal is not a real option. Refusal is exile. Refusal is poverty. Refusal is becoming the kind of woman people whisper about, pity, avoid, so you do not refuse. You sleep, and when you wake, it will begin again. But let us slow down now. Let us go back. Because the day I have just described is the surface, the visible layer, the part that an observer might see and think they understand. What lies beneath is something else entirely. It is a structure of control so pervasive, so intricate, that it operates on levels you are not fully conscious of until you stop and examine them. And stopping and examining them is itself a kind of transgression because it requires you to step outside the flow of expectation and ask why. Why do you wake before dawn? The answer is not simply that the household requires it. The answer is that your worth is measured by your usefulness, and usefulness begins early. To sleep late is to be lazy, and laziness in a woman is not merely a personal failing, but a moral one, a sign that you are not fit for the duties of wifehood, motherhood, household management. The early rising is training. It is preparation for a future in which you will wake to nurse an infant, to supervise servants, to ensure that your husband's breakfast is ready before he leaves for his work, which is real work, the kind that earns money and respect, while your work earns neither but is still judged more harshly. Why the corset? You have been told it is for your health, that it supports your back, that it trains your figure into the shape that is most becoming, most feminine. But the corset is not about health. The corset is about constraint. It is a daily reminder that your body, in its natural state, is unacceptable. Your waist must be smaller. Your posture must be straighter. Your movements must be restricted. The corset ensures that you cannot run, cannot bend freely, cannot take a full breath, and all of this is intentional. A woman who can run might run away. A woman who can breathe fully might shout. A woman whose body is her own might forget that her purpose is to be decorative, to be managed, or to be possessed. The corset compresses your organs. This is not metaphorical. Your liver, your stomach, your intestines are pushed into configurations they were not designed for. You will suffer from indigestion, constipation, shortness of breath. You will faint occasionally, not because you are weak, but because your blood cannot circulate properly. When you faint, people will say that women are fragile, delicate, prone to hysteria. They will not say that you fainted because you have been laced into a torture device and expected to function normally. Why the layers? The chemise, the drawers, the corset cover, the petticoats, the crinoline, the dress. Why so much fabric, so much weight, so much time spent dressing and undressing? The answer is modesty, but modesty is a code word for control. Each layer is a barrier between your body and the world. Each layer makes you slower, more cumbersome, more dependent. You cannot dress yourself. You cannot undress yourself. You need help. You need other people. You are never alone, never autonomous, never free from the gaze and hands of others. The layers also make you expensive. The fabric costs money. The laundering costs money. The maintenance costs money. You are a walking display of your family's wealth, and this display is necessary because your value on the marriage market is tied to how much you cost to maintain. A man who marries you is not just marrying a person, he is marrying an economic arrangement, a set of skills, a status symbol. The more expensive you are, the more desirable you are, but also the more indebted you are to the system that makes you expensive. Why the embroidery, the tea pouring, the endless repetition of decorative, useless tasks? Because you must be occupied, but you must not be productive in any way that might threaten the economic order. If you learn to manage money, you might question why you have none of your own. If you learn to trade, you might earn independence. If you studied seriously, you might develop ideas, opinions, ambitions. So instead, you embroider, you pour tea, you practice the piano. These are skills that prove you are cultured, refined, suitable for display in a drawing room, but they are also skills that keep you contained within the domestic sphere, far from the world of commerce, politics, law, science, anything that might give you power. The embroidery is particularly insidious because it feels productive. You are making something, your hands are busy, the hours pass. But what you are making has no value. It will not be sold. It will not change anything. It is decoration, and you are decorating your own cage. Why the visit? Why the performance of interest in a man you do not know, did not choose, may not even like? Because marriage is not about affection. Marriage is an economic transaction, a transfer of property. You are the property. Your father owns you until the moment your husband owns you. The visit is a negotiation, and you are the product being inspected. The tea, the conversation, the careful modulation of your expressions, all of it is packaging. You are learning to market yourself, and the market is narrow. You must be pretty, but not vain, intelligent, but not opinionated, accomplished, but not ambitious, pleasant, but not frivolous. The margin for error is so small that you spend your entire life trying to thread the needle, and even when you do everything right, you can still fail for reasons beyond your control. Your dowry is too small, your family's reputation suffers a scandal, a prettier girl enters the market. And if you do not marry? The question is not hypothetical. You know women who did not marry. They live with their parents, if their parents are still alive, or with their brothers, if they are lucky, or in rented rooms, if they are unlucky, teaching piano to children, or doing piecework sewing, or taking in laundry. They are pitied. They are invisible. They are proof of failure, and their failure haunts you every time you embroider, every time you pour tea, every time you smile at a man who bores you. Why are you always hungry? Because appetite is unseemly. Because a woman who eats heartily is a woman who has desires, and desire in a woman is dangerous. You are meant to be desired, not to desire. Your hunger must be for your husband's approval, your children's welfare, the smooth running of the household. Your hunger must not be for food, for pleasure, for satisfaction. So you eat small portions. You eat slowly. You train your body to want less, to expect less, to survive on less. And when your body rebels, when you feel faint, when your hands shake, when your thoughts become sluggish, you are told this is natural, that women are weaker, that you must rest more, eat more delicately, avoid exertion. The problem is never the system. The problem is always you. Why are you never alone? Because solitude is dangerous. A woman alone might think, she might question, she might discover that she has a self that exists independently of her roles, her duties, her responsibilities to others. So you are always accompanied. The maid is in your room. Your mother is in the drawing room. Your sister is beside you. Your family is at dinner. And when you marry, your husband will be there, or his servants, or his relatives. Privacy is not a right you possess. Your body is not your own. Your time is not your own. Your thoughts are barely your own, because even your inner life is shaped by the constant awareness of being observed, judged, evaluated. The house itself is a machine of surveillance. The walls are thin. The doors do not lock. The servants report to your parents report to society. Society is everyone and no one, a diffused network of expectations and judgments that you can never fully see, but that you feel constantly, like a weight pressing down on every choice, every word, every gesture. You have learned to surveil yourself. You do not need your mother to tell you to sit up straight anymore. You tell yourself. You do not need the maid to remind you to check your appearance. You check it constantly, reflexively, compulsively. You have internalized the gaze so thoroughly that you are never free of it. Even when you are physically alone, you are always performing, even for yourself, because you have forgotten what it would mean to stop. Let us consider time, not clock time, though that matters too, but the way time moves for you, the way it is structured, the way it feels. Your day is divided into segments, each with its own rules, its own costume, its own script. Morning is for dressing, for breakfast, for small domestic tasks. Afternoon is for visiting, for receiving visitors, for being seen. Evening is for family, for dinner, for more embroidery, for the slow wind down towards sleep. Each segment is contained, bounded, predictable. There are no surprises. There is no spontaneity. You do not wake up and decide what to do with your day. Your day has already been decided. This predictability is supposed to be comforting. It is supposed to give you stability, order, peace, and perhaps it does in some abstract sense. But it also makes time feel strange, elastic, oppressive. The hours are long because they are empty of real event. You are busy, constantly busy, but you are not doing anything that matters in a way you can point to. You cannot say, I built this, I earned this, I changed this. You can only say, I got through today, and tomorrow will be the same. The clock ticks. You are aware of it always, the way it marks the passage of time, the way it dictates when you eat, when you dress, when you visit, when you sleep. But the clock is not your ally. The clock is another overseer, another mechanism of control. It tells you when you are late, when you are wasting time, when you are failing to be efficient. And yet the clock also stretches time, makes it drag, because when every day is the same, time loses its shape. 1 week is indistinguishable from the next. 1 month blurs into another. You are living, but you are not progressing. You are aging, but you are not growing. You think sometimes about the future, but the future is not yours to shape. The future is marriage, children, more of the same in a different house with different people, or the future is spinsterhood, dependence, slow erasure. Either way, the future is not a horizon of possibility. It is a narrowing, a closing down, a set of predetermined outcomes that you are moving toward whether you want to or not. You think sometimes about the past, but the past is not much better. Your childhood was training for this. You were taught to sit still, to speak softly, to obey without question. You were dressed in smaller corsets, lighter dresses, simpler patterns. You were told that when you grew up, you would be a lady, and being a lady sounded like something wonderful, something to aspire to. No one told you that being a lady meant disappearing. No one told you that the transformation from girl to woman was also a transformation from person to object, from subject to ornament. So you exist in a kind of eternal present, a loop of days that are neither good nor bad, but simply endured. And endurance is the skill you have developed most fully. You endure the corset. You endure the boredom. You endure the hunger. You endure the scrutiny. You endure the knowledge that this is all there is, and that wanting more is not just impractical, but morally suspect. Let us consider your body more closely now, because your body is the site of the most intimate forms of control, the place where the abstract rules of society become concrete, physical, inescapable. You have been taught that your body is shameful, not explicitly perhaps. No one has said to you, your body is disgusting, your flesh is wrong. But the message has been conveyed in 1,000 small ways. The way you were told to cover yourself, always completely. The way menstruation was never discussed, only managed in secret, with rags and shame and the constant fear of staining your clothes, of being discovered in your animal reality. The way you were taught that certain parts of your body do not have names, or if they do, the names are clinical, distant, meant to be spoken only by doctors, and even then in hushed tones. Your body produces things, blood, sweat, oils, odors, and all of these productions are evidence of failure. You must hide them, control them, erase them. You must not smell. You must not sweat visibly. You must not acknowledge that you bleed. When your monthly courses come, you do not mention it. You simply endure the cramping, the heaviness, the inconvenience of managing the flow with inadequate materials in a corset that does not allow for bloating or discomfort. You do not rest, because resting would require admitting that your body is affecting you, and your body is not supposed to affect you. You are supposed to transcend it. The corset is part of this transcendence. It shapes your body into something unnatural, something that suggests you are not made of flesh and bone and organs, but of smooth lines and elegant curves. It hides your stomach, your intestines, your digestive processes. It makes you look as though you do not eat, do not defecate, do not experience the base realities of embodiment. And when your body rebels, when you are constipated, when you faint, when your ribs ache, you are told this is the price of beauty, of respectability, of femininity. You do not touch yourself. This is understood without being stated. Your hands are for embroidery, for pouring tea, for holding a book or a fan or a teacup. They are not for exploring your own flesh, for learning what brings you pleasure, for understanding your body as a source of sensation rather than a source of shame. Pleasure is not a concept that applies to you. Pleasure is for men. You are meant to be pleasing, which is entirely different. If you marry, your body will be used for reproduction. You know this, though the details are vague. Your mother has told you almost nothing. Other women have hinted at discomfort, at duty, at something that must be endured on your wedding night and regularly thereafter. You are not supposed to want it. You are not supposed to enjoy it. You are supposed to submit to it, to allow your husband to use your body for the production of heirs, and if you are lucky, it will not hurt too much. And if you are very lucky, you will become pregnant quickly, so that the frequency of the act decreases. Your body will change if you become pregnant. Your belly will swell, your breasts will enlarge, you will be uncomfortable in ways you cannot fully imagine yet. And then you will give birth, which is spoken of in whispers, in euphemisms, in warnings that you should prepare yourself for pain beyond description. Women die in childbirth. You know this. Everyone knows this. It is the great unspoken fear, the shadow that hangs over every marriage, every pregnancy. Your body, which has been controlled and constrained and shaped for your entire life, will finally be called upon to perform its ultimate function, and it might kill you. If you survive, you will recover, or you will not recover. Your body will be marked by the experience. Stretch marks, sagging, a looseness that the corset will have to work harder to contain. You will nurse the child if you can, if the child survives, and this, too, is a function of your body that is both mandatory and shameful. You will do it in private, hidden away, because the sight of a woman nursing is too animal, too visceral, too real. And if you do not marry, your body will age in different ways. It will thicken slightly. It will soften. It will become more and more difficult to fit into the fashionable shapes. And you will be judged for this, as though your body's refusal to remain youthful and slim is a moral failing rather than a biological inevitability. You will fade. You will become invisible. Your body, which was once a site of value, will lose that value, and you will have to find some other way to justify your existence. But whether you marry or not, your body is never yours. It is always mediated, always interpreted, always judged. It is a thing you live inside, but do not own. It is a tool for others to use, a symbol for others to read, a problem for you to manage. Let us consider speech. You are allowed to speak, of course. You are not mute. But what you are allowed to say and how you are allowed to say it, and when you are allowed to say it, these are all tightly regulated. Your voice must be soft, not a whisper, but never a shout, never even a raised tone unless there is an emergency, and even then, the raising of your voice is evidence of your lack of self-control, your inability to manage a crisis with calm and grace. A loud woman is a coarse woman. A loud woman is lower class. A loud woman is someone who has not been properly trained. Your voice must also be pleasant. This is harder to define, but you know it when you hear it. A pleasant voice is melodic, soothing, not too high and not too low. It does not grate. It does not challenge. It does not demand. It requests. It suggests. It defers. What you say is even more constrained than how you say it. You may speak about the weather, about mutual acquaintances, about domestic matters. You may offer opinions on novels, though not on politics or philosophy or science, unless you are very careful to frame your opinions as questions, as uncertainties, as musings, rather than conclusions. You may compliment others. You may express concern for others. You may ask questions, but not too many and not too probing. You may not argue. You may not contradict a man directly. If you disagree, you must couch your disagreement in such soft language that it barely registers as disagreement at all. You might say, "I wonder if perhaps," or "it seems to me that possibly," or "of course I could be mistaken," but these hedges are mandatory. They signal that you understand your place, that you are not claiming authority, that you are merely contributing to the conversation without threatening to dominate it. You may not speak about your body, your desires, your frustrations, your ambitions. You may not complain, except in the most delicate, self-deprecating ways. You may not boast. You may not curse. You may not use language that is too direct, too vivid, too forceful. Your speech must be as controlled as your posture, as constrained as your corset. And so you learn to speak in code. You learn to express dissatisfaction through the particular tone of a sigh, the slight pause before you agree, the way you smile that does not quite reach your eyes. You learn to communicate with other women through glances, through the tilt of a head, through the emphasis on a particular word in an otherwise innocuous sentence. You develop a second language, a shadow language, the language of the unsaid. But even this shadow language is monitored. Your mother watches for signs of rebellion. Your husband, if you marry, will watch for signs of discontent. The servants listen, the neighbors gossip. And so you learn to guard even your unspoken communication, to keep your true thoughts buried so deep that sometimes you forget you have them. You begin to wonder in your more introspective moments what your real voice sounds like. Not the modulated, pleasant, carefully controlled voice you use in public, but the voice that would emerge if you were allowed to speak freely, without fear, without constraint. You wonder what you would say if you could say anything. You wonder if you would even know how to begin. Let us consider the drawing room, because the drawing room is the stage on which much of your life is performed, and understanding the stage helps us understand the performance. The drawing room is a room for drawing, withdrawing into. It is the room where women retire after dinner, while the men smoke and drink and discuss things that matter. It is the room where you receive visitors, where you sit with your embroidery, where you practice the piano, where you exist in a state of perpetual readiness to be looked at. The furniture in the drawing room is uncomfortable. The chairs are hard, or if they are upholstered in fabric that is delicate and must be protected. You cannot relax in these chairs. You cannot slouch, spread out, curl up. You sit upright, your back not touching the back of the chair, your feet together, your hands in your lap, or occupied with some small task. The furniture enforces posture. The furniture is on the side of the corset. The room is also filled with objects, vases, figurines, doilies, framed portraits, books that are displayed but rarely read. These objects must be dusted, arranged, maintained. They are evidence of your family's refinement, their taste, their wealth. But they are also your responsibility. You are the one who ensures that the room is always presentable, always ready for visitors, always a perfect representation of domestic order. The drawing room has windows, but the curtains are often drawn. Or if they are open, the windows look out onto a garden or a street that you do not have the freedom to enter at will. You cannot simply walk outside. You cannot go for a walk alone. If you want fresh air, you must be accompanied, chaperoned, protected from the dangers of the world, and also from the danger of being seen alone, which would suggest that you are not properly supervised, not properly controlled. The light in the drawing room is dim. Gas lamps, candles, the weak sunlight that filters through the curtains. The dimness is deliberate. It is flattering. It softens features, hides imperfections. It also makes it harder to read, harder to do fine work, harder to see clearly. But clarity is not the goal. The goal is atmosphere, ambiance, the creation of a space that is soothing and decorative rather than functional. You spend hours in this room, days, years. It is the center of your domestic life, and yet it is a space that feels designed to contain you rather than to serve you. It is beautiful in a suffocating way, like a jewelry box lined with velvet. Let us consider marriage more directly now, because marriage is the event toward which your entire life has been oriented, the goal that has shaped every lesson, every restriction, every expectation. You are told that marriage is your destiny, your fulfillment, the moment when you will become complete. You are told that a woman without a husband is like a house without a foundation, a ship without a rudder, a garden without a gardener. The metaphors pile up, and they all say the same thing. You are incomplete, and only marriage can complete you. But you are also learning, through observation and whispers and the things your mother does not say, that marriage is not the fairy tale you were promised as a child. Marriage is duty. Marriage is submission. Marriage is the transfer of your obedience from your father to your husband. You will promise to obey him. You will promise to honor him. He will promise to protect and provide for you, but protection is a form of control, and provision comes with obligations. Your husband will own you, not metaphorically. Legally, your property, if you have any, will become his property. Your earnings, if you somehow earn anything, will belong to him. Your children will be his children, legally speaking, and if the marriage ends, he will have rights to them that you do not. You will have no right to divorce him unless he is extraordinarily cruel. And even then, the process will ruin you socially, financially, morally. You will be the one blamed, the one pitied and scorned. Your husband will have the right to your body. This is not stated in the marriage vows, but it is understood. You cannot refuse him. Refusal would be grounds for annulment, for accusation of frigidity, for the kind of marital discord that is always blamed on the wife. You will submit to him whenever he desires, whether you desire it or not, and your desire is irrelevant anyway because you are not supposed to have desire. You are supposed to tolerate, to endure, to lie still and think of England, as the saying goes, though no one actually says it to you directly. It is simply in the air, part of the collective understanding of what it means to be a wife. If you are lucky, your husband will be kind. He will not beat you, or if he does, it will be rare and provoked, at least in his telling. He will not humiliate you in public. He will provide adequately for the household. He will not keep a mistress, or if he does, he will be discreet. He will treat you with a certain baseline respect, the way one might treat a valued servant or a well-bred horse. If you are unlucky, your husband will be cruel. He will mock you, control you, isolate you. He will spend money recklessly and blame you for not managing the household on insufficient funds. He will drink, gamble, visit prostitutes. He will come home angry and take that anger out on you. And there will be no one you can tell, no one who will intervene, because a man's home is his castle, and what happens within it is his business. And whether you are lucky or unlucky, you will have children, or you will try to have children, and the trying will wear you down. Pregnancy after pregnancy, birth after birth, the constant cycle of conception and gestation and labor and recovery and nursing and weaning and conception again. Your body will be used up in the production of heirs. You will lose teeth. Your hair will thin. Your skin will sag. You will age rapidly, prematurely, visibly, and if you do not have children, that will be its own failure. You will be blamed. Your husband may leave you, may seek an annulment on the grounds of barrenness, may take a mistress who can give him what you cannot. Your worth as a wife is tied to your fertility, and if you cannot produce heirs, you are defective, disposable. But let us say you do have children. Let us say you survive the births and the children survive infancy, which is not guaranteed. So many children die in their first years from illness, from accidents, from causes that no one fully understands. You will love these children. You will pour into them all the affection and care that you are not allowed to express elsewhere, but you will also know that they are not entirely yours. The boys will be taken from you eventually, sent to school, trained for the world of men, and you will lose them to that world. The girls will be trained as you were trained, and you will watch them be shaped and constrained, and you will participate in that shaping because that is your role. And you will feel a kind of sick complicity, a knowledge that you are perpetuating the system that has imprisoned you. Marriage, you realize, is not an escape from your father's house. It is a transfer to another house, another man, another set of constraints. The cage changes shape, but it is still a cage. Let us consider money, because money is power, and you have none. You do not have your own money. If you are unmarried, any money you might inherit or be given is controlled by your father or your male guardian. If you are married, it is controlled by your husband. You may have an allowance, a small sum given to you for household expenses or personal items, but this allowance is not yours. It is given at someone else's discretion, and it can be withheld at any time. You cannot work, not in any way that would earn real money. You can teach piano or do embroidery for sale, but these are genteel poverties, small sums that do not add up to independence. Real work, factory work, shop work, any kind of labor that would earn a living wage is beneath you, would ruin your reputation, would mark you as fallen. So you are trapped in a kind of economic non-existence. You consume resources, but you do not produce income. You are a dependent, always, and dependency is the foundation of your powerlessness. This powerlessness extends to every aspect of your life. You cannot choose where you live. You cannot choose what you eat, what you wear, how you spend your time. Every choice is made for you or must be approved by someone else. And this is supposed to be for your protection, for your benefit. Because women are not suited to make such decisions. Women are too emotional, too irrational, too weak. But you are not weak. You know this. You manage an entire household. You navigate complex social situations. You endure physical and emotional pain that would break many men. But your strength is not acknowledged because acknowledging it would undermine the logic of your dependence. You fantasize sometimes about having money, not wealth necessarily, but enough to live on, enough to rent a small room, to buy your own food, to make your own decisions. But even this modest fantasy is impossible. A woman alone with money is suspect. Where did she get it? What did she do to earn it? The assumption is always that she earned it through sex, through selling her body, because that is the only way a woman can earn money outside the bounds of respectability. So you do not have money, and you do not have the prospect of money, and this lack is another form of control, another way of ensuring that you remain tethered to the men who have power over you. Let us consider reputation, because reputation is everything, and it is also nothing, and it is both more and less than you are. Your reputation is a fragile thing, a glass object that can shatter with the slightest impact. A rumor, a glance, a moment of impropriety, any of these can destroy you. And once your reputation is damaged, there is no repairing it. You are marked, ruined, fallen. What counts as impropriety? Almost anything. Being seen alone with a man who is not your relative, laughing too loudly, dancing too enthusiastically, receiving a letter from an inappropriate person, wearing a dress that is too tight, too low, too bright, expressing an opinion too forcefully, walking unaccompanied in the wrong part of town, staying out too late, drinking too much, being seen entering or leaving a place that is not respectable. The rules are so numerous, so specific, so arbitrary that you cannot possibly know all of them, and yet you are expected to know all of them, and ignorance is not an excuse. If you violate a rule, even unknowingly, you are at fault, and the punishment is not proportional to the offense. A small mistake can have catastrophic consequences. This is because your reputation is not really about your behavior. It is about perception, about what other people believe about you, and other people are eager to believe the worst. Gossip is the currency of social power, and you are always vulnerable to it. Someone who dislikes you or envies you or simply finds you inconvenient can spread a rumor, and that rumor can take on a life of its own, growing and mutating until it bears no resemblance to the truth, but has become the truth in the minds of everyone who hears it. And you cannot defend yourself effectively. If you deny the rumor too forcefully, you seem defensive, which suggests guilt. If you ignore it, you seem to be admitting it. If you confront the person who spread it, you create a scene, which is itself a violation of propriety. So you are trapped. The rumor spreads, your reputation suffers, invitations dry up, potential suitors disappear. You are marked. Your reputation is also separate from your actual virtue. You can be genuinely virtuous, genuinely chaste, genuinely obedient, and still be ruined by rumor, or you can be secretly transgressive, secretly rebellious, and maintain a spotless reputation as long as you are careful, as long as you are never caught. The system rewards appearance over reality, performance over authenticity. And so you learn to manage your reputation obsessively. You are always aware of who is watching, who might misinterpret, who might gossip. You modulate your behavior not according to your own sense of right and wrong, but according to what will be perceived as right and wrong. You become a performer, and the performance never ends. Let us consider the servants, because the servants are a constant presence in your life, and yet they occupy a strange liminal position, both invisible and hypervisible, both powerless and powerful. You are served by the servants. They dress you, cook for you, clean for you, manage the household labor that keeps everything running. Without them, your life would collapse. You could not maintain the standard of living, the level of cleanliness, the elaborate rituals of dress and food, and social performance. And yet, you are taught to treat the servants as though they are invisible, as though their labor is effortless, as though they are part of the furniture. You do not thank them, or if you do, it is rare and cursory. You do not ask about their lives, their families, their feelings. You give them orders, and they obey. And this dynamic is supposed to be natural, inevitable, a reflection of the proper order of things. But the servants see everything. They see you in your chemise, struggling with the corset. They see you crying in your room after a difficult conversation. They see you eating in secret or not eating at all. They hear your arguments with your mother, your father, your husband. They know your secrets, and this knowledge makes them dangerous. A servant who dislikes you can make your life miserable in small, subtle ways. A dress laced too tightly, a meal overcooked, a piece of gossip shared in the market. A servant who is loyal to you can protect you, cover for you, lie for you. And so you must manage the servants carefully, maintaining the balance between authority and dependence, between distance and intimacy. The relationship is further complicated by the fact that the servants are mostly women, and many of them are not much older or younger than you. You could have been them in a different life, with a different family, a different set of circumstances. You would be the one dressing someone else, cooking someone else's meals, cleaning someone else's house. The line between you and them is thinner than anyone wants to admit, and this thinness is both threatening and bonding. You are kind to the servants, or you try to be within the limits of what is acceptable. You do not beat them, do not scream at them, do not accuse them without cause, but you also do not treat them as equals, because they are not equals, and pretending otherwise would upset the order of the household. And the servants, for their part, are navigating their own complex terrain. They are working to survive, to send money home to their families, to save for a future that might include marriage or a small business or simply the ability to stop working. They are tired. They are underpaid. They are subject to the whims of their employers, and if they displease, they can be dismissed without references, which means they will struggle to find work elsewhere. So you and the servants exist in a relationship of mutual dependence and mutual suspicion, and this relationship is another thread in the web of control and performance that structures your life. Let us consider education, because what you have been taught and what you have not been taught shapes the boundaries of your world. You can read, you can write, you can do basic arithmetic. You have learned French, perhaps, or a little Italian. You have studied history, though a particular version of history, one that emphasizes kings and queens and battles and treaties, not the lives of ordinary people, not the structures of power, not the ways systems change. You have read novels, poetry, some philosophy, though the philosophy is carefully selected to be uplifting, moral, not too challenging. But you have not studied mathematics beyond the basics. You have not studied science. You have not studied law, economics, politics. These subjects are for men, for boys being trained to enter the world of work and governance. You do not need them, you are told, because you will not be working, you will not be governing. You need only enough education to be a pleasing companion, a competent household manager, a moral guide for your children, and so you are educated just enough to be interesting but not threatening. You can discuss books at a dinner party, but you cannot engage in serious intellectual debate. You can balance a household budget, but you cannot understand the broader economy. You can teach your children to read, but you cannot teach them advanced subjects. This partial education is another form of control. It keeps you dependent on men for interpretation of the world. It keeps you from developing the skills that would allow you to support yourself, to think independently, to challenge the systems that constrain you. And yet, within these limits, you read. You read voraciously, hungrily, desperately. Novels are your window into other lives, other possibilities. You read about women who are braver than you, women who defy convention, women who suffer for their defiance, but who at least have the satisfaction of having chosen their suffering. You read about men who are kind, who are cruel, who are complex. You read about places you will never go, experiences you will never have. The novels are also teaching you though not in the way they are intended to. They are teaching you the scripts of romance, the narratives of courtship and marriage. They are teaching you to desire a particular kind of love story, one in which you are chosen, pursued, won. They are teaching you that your value lies in being desirable, and that desirability is a combination of beauty, virtue, and a kind of strategic helplessness that invites rescue. But some novels complicate this. Some novels show you women who are unhappy in marriage, who are trapped, who are punished for transgression, but whose transgression is understandable, even sympathetic. These novels are dangerous. They plant seeds of doubt, of questioning, of dissatisfaction, and yet you read them anyway, because the alternative is to live entirely within the confines of what you are told, and you are not quite ready to do that yet. Let us consider religion, because religion is supposed to be your comfort, your solace, your source of meaning, and it is all of those things, but it is also another mechanism of control. You attend church every Sunday. This is not optional. Church attendance is a marker of respectability, a public demonstration of piety and moral uprightness. You wear your best dress, you sit in the family pew. You listen to the sermon, which is often about obedience, humility, acceptance of one's lot in life. The minister speaks of suffering as a test, as a path to grace. He speaks of women as helpmeets, as subordinate to men, as created to serve and support. He quotes Scripture, Ephesians, Corinthians, Timothy, passages that command your obedience, your silence, your submission. You bow your head, you pray. The prayers are familiar, comforting in their rhythm. You pray for guidance, for strength, for patience. You pray for your family, for their health and prosperity. You pray to be a better daughter, a better sister, a better future wife. You do not pray for freedom, because freedom is not a spiritual virtue. You do not pray for power, because power is not your role. You pray to be good, and goodness is defined as acceptance, as endurance, as cheerful compliance with the will of God, which is also the will of men. The church teaches you that suffering is redemptive, that pain in this life will be rewarded in the next, that your body is a temple, but also a source of temptation, a site of potential sin. You are taught to mistrust your body, to see its desires as dangerous, to mortify the flesh through denial and discipline. The corset becomes a religious garment, a form of penance, a daily reminder that comfort is worldly and worldliness is sinful. But religion also gives you something. It gives you a framework for understanding your suffering, a narrative that makes it meaningful rather than pointless. It gives you community, the company of other women in the church, the shared rituals, the collective singing. It gives you language for experiences that otherwise have no language, grace, mercy, forgiveness, hope. And it gives you a small, secret space of rebellion. In prayer, you are alone with God, and God, you are told, sees your heart. He knows your true self, the self you hide from everyone else. In prayer, you can be honest. You can admit your doubts, your fears, your angers. You can ask questions that you would never ask aloud. And if God does not answer, at least He does not rebuke you for asking. But the church also watches you. The congregation watches you. If you miss a service, it is noticed. If you seem insufficiently devout, it is noted. If you question a doctrine too openly, you are corrected. And so religion, like everything else, becomes another performance, another script, another set of expectations to meet. Let us consider illness, because illness is one of the few acceptable forms of escape, and it is also one of the most dangerous. You are sick sometimes. Everyone is sick sometimes. But for you, illness has a particular social meaning. It is a sign of your delicacy, your sensitivity, your refinement. A woman who is never sick is robust, which is too close to coarse, too close to common. A woman who's frequently sick is interesting, worthy of concern, an object of tender care. And so illness becomes strategic. You do not fake illness exactly, but you allow yourself to feel it more than you might otherwise. The headache that you could push through becomes a reason to lie down. The faintness that you could ignore becomes a reason to call for smelling salts. The exhaustion that you could overcome becomes a reason to cancel plans, to stay in bed, to be excused from obligations. Illness gives you permission to rest. It gives you permission to be taken care of, to be the center of attention in a way that is not selfish because you are suffering. It gives you permission to say no to visitors, to outings, to demands on your time and energy, without seeming rude or uncooperative. But illness is also dangerous. If you are sick too often, you become a burden. You become expensive. Doctors, medicines, special diets. You become inconvenient. You become unmarriageable, because no man wants a wife who is constantly unwell, who cannot fulfill her duties, who might die young and leave him without heirs. And some illnesses are not acceptable. Mental illness, for instance, is shameful, terrifying, a thing to be hidden. If you are too sad, too anxious, too strange, you might be diagnosed with hysteria, that catch-all term for women whose emotions are too intense, too uncontrolled, and the treatments for hysteria are not kind. Rest cures that confine you to bed for months. Pelvic massages that are as humiliating as they are ineffective. Institutionalization, if you are very unlucky, a place where you will be locked away, forgotten, erased. So you manage your health carefully. You are sick enough to be interesting, but not enough to be burdensome. You express your distress through physical symptoms, headaches, fainting, digestive troubles, because these are acceptable, understandable, treatable. You do not speak of the deeper malaise, the sense that your life is crushing you, that you are disappearing, that you are being slowly suffocated by the weight of expectation. Let us consider pleasure, or the absence of it. You are not supposed to seek pleasure. Pleasure is indulgent, selfish, worldly. You are supposed to seek duty, virtue, the satisfaction of a job well done. And there are satisfactions in your life. The completion of a piece of embroidery, the successful management of a dinner party, the approval of your mother, the knowledge that you have behaved correctly. But these are not pleasures in the visceral sense. They are the pleasures of accomplishment, of meeting external standards. They are not the pleasures of the body, of the senses, of the self indulging itself. You do not eat for pleasure. You eat to sustain yourself. And even that is rationed, controlled. You do not move for pleasure. You do not run, jump, dance freely. Your movements are always measured, restrained, appropriate. You do not touch yourself for pleasure. That is unthinkable, unspeakable, a sin and a shame. You do find small pleasures, stolen pleasures. The warmth of the sun through a window, the smell of flowers in the garden, the sound of music, a particularly moving passage in a book. These moments are brief, fleeting, and you do not speak of them because to speak of them would be to claim them, to insist on your right to feel joy. and that insistence is too close to selfishness. Sometimes you wonder what it would be like to live in pursuit of pleasure, to make choices based on what feels good rather than what is right. But this wondering is itself dangerous, a slippery slope toward dissatisfaction, toward wanting more than you are allowed to have. And so you train yourself out of wanting. You learn to be content with contentment, to accept that your life is not meant to be joyful, but bearable, and that bearing it well is its own kind of virtue. Let us consider the outside world, the world beyond the drawing room, beyond the house, beyond the narrow circle of your daily existence. You know that this world exists. You read about it in newspapers, though the newspapers you are allowed to read are carefully selected, focusing on social news, fashion, acceptable topics. You hear about it from your father, your brother, the men who move through that world and report back to the domestic sphere. You know there are factories, offices, universities, parliaments. You know there is commerce, industry, science, art. You know there are people living lives vastly different from yours. Working class women in mills, aristocratic women at court, women in other countries with other customs. But this knowledge is abstract. You do not see these things directly. You do not participate in them. Your world is small. It consists of your house, the houses of relatives and friends, the church, the shops you are allowed to visit when accompanied. You move through this world in a carriage, insulated from the dirt and noise and chaos of the streets. When you walk in the park, on designated paths, at designated times, always accompanied. The boundary between your world and the larger world is policed constantly. You cannot cross it without permission, without escort, without risking your reputation. And even if you wanted to cross it, what would you do? You have no skills that would allow you to earn a living. You have no contacts who could help you navigate that world. You have no money to sustain yourself. And so you remain inside the boundary, looking out, wondering what it would be like to move freely, to make choices, to have a life that is determined by your own will rather than by the will of others. Sometimes you see women who have crossed that boundary, women who work, women who live alone, women who have been cast out or who have chosen to leave. These women are objects of pity or scandal or both. They are proof of what happens when a woman steps outside the protection of the domestic sphere. They are warnings, and yet you envy them sometimes. Not their poverty, not their hardship, but their freedom. The freedom to move, to choose, to fail, or succeed on their own terms. It is a bitter envy, because you know that the price of that freedom is too high, that you could not survive it, that you have been raised to be dependent, and you cannot undo that raising. Let us consider the future, which is both inevitable and uncertain. You know what is supposed to happen. You will marry. You will have children. You will manage a household. You will grow older. You will watch your children grow and marry and have children of their own. You will become a mother-in-law, a grandmother, a matriarch of sorts. You will have fulfilled your purpose. But you also know that this future is not guaranteed. You might not marry. You might marry and be unhappy. You might marry and die in childbirth. You might marry and have no children, or children who die, or children who disappoint. You might outlive your husband and become a widow, dependent on your children or your late husband's family. Every possible future contains some form of constraint, some form of dependence. There is no future in which you are free, autonomous, self-determining, The shape of the cage might change, but the cage remains. And so you do not think about the future very often. You think about the present, about getting through the day, about meeting the expectations in front of you. The future is too vast, too uncertain, too overwhelming. But sometimes, late at night, when you are alone in bed and the house is silent, you allow yourself to imagine a different future. A future in which you are not married, not a mother, not defined by your relationship to men. A future in which you have work that matters, work that is yours. A future in which you have money, independence, the ability to make choices. This future is impossible. You know this. But the imagining of it is a small act of rebellion, a way of insisting that you exist beyond the roles assigned to you, that you have desires and dreams that are not accounted for in the structure of your life. And then you fall asleep, and when you wake, the impossible future recedes, and you return to the actual future, the one that is being built for you, whether you consent to it or not. Let us consider the men in your life, because they are the architects of your constraint, and they are also constrained themselves, though in different ways. Your father is the first man who owns you. He is kind, or distant, or stern, depending on his temperament. He provides for you. He makes decisions about your education, your social life, your future marriage. He has the legal right to control you until he transfers that control to your husband. You respect him, or fear him, or love him, or some combination of all three. Your father is also trapped in his way. He is trapped by the expectation that he will provide, that he will maintain the family status, that he will make sound decisions. He works long hours. He worries about money, about reputation, about the future. He is not free to express weakness, vulnerability, uncertainty. He must be strong, decisive, authoritative, but his constraint is different from yours. His constraint comes with power. He has choices, even if those choices are limited. He can work, earn, own property, vote, participate in the public sphere. His constraint is the price of his power. Yours is the price of your powerlessness. Your brother, if you have one, is being raised for a different future. He is educated more rigorously. He is given more freedom. He can go out alone, stay out late, make mistakes without being ruined. He will inherit property. He will have a career. He will be expected to marry, but his marriage will not define him in the way yours defines you. You love your brother, perhaps, or you resent him, or both. You see the difference in how he is treated, the opportunities available to him, the latitude given to his behavior. And you understand that this difference is not because he is smarter or better, but because he is male. And maleness is valued in a way that femaleness is not. Your future husband, if you have one, is a stranger. You meet him briefly, in controlled settings, under the watchful eyes of your families. You make small talk. You assess each other. You know almost nothing about him, his character, his habits, his desires, his capacity for kindness or cruelty, but you must marry him anyway, or someone like him, because the alternative is unthinkable. And once you marry him, he will have complete control over you, your body, your property, your time, your future. You will be his in a way that he will never be yours. He, too, is constrained. He is expected to provide, to be strong, to make all the decisions. He cannot admit doubt, fear, weakness. He cannot cry, cannot fail, cannot ask for help. His role is as rigid as yours, though it comes with power and privilege that yours does not. And so you are both trapped in a system that neither of you designed, but that you both perpetuate. He exercises power over you because that is what he has been taught to do. You submit to that power because that is what you have been taught to do. And the system continues, generation after generation, crushing both of you in different ways. Let us consider the other women, because they are your companions, your competitors, your mirrors. Your mother is the model of what you are supposed to become. She has navigated this life successfully. She married well. She produced children. She manages the household with efficiency and grace. She has maintained her reputation, her respectability, her place in society. But you also see the cost. You see the lines around her mouth, the weariness in her eyes, the way she flinches sometimes when your father speaks sharply. You see the way she controls you, micromanages your behavior, criticizes your every mistake. And you understand that her harshness comes from fear, from the knowledge that your failure is also her failure, that she will be judged by how well she has prepared you for your role. Your mother loves you in her way, but her love is conditional, contingent on your obedience, your success. She cannot afford to love you unconditionally, because unconditional love would require accepting you as you are, and as you are is not acceptable. You must be shaped, molded, corrected. Your sister is your closest companion and your rival. You share a room, share secrets, share the burden of expectation. You are allies against your mother's scrutiny, your father's authority. But you are also competing for the limited resources of attention, approval, marriage prospects. There is only so much approval to go around, only so many eligible men. You love your sister. You also compare yourself to her constantly. Is she prettier, more accomplished, more likely to marry well? Does your mother favor her? These comparisons poison your relationship, create a distance that you both regret but cannot bridge. The other women you know, friends, relatives, acquaintances, are all navigating the same system. You watch each other, judge each other, support each other, betray each other. You share advice, gossip, sympathy. You also compete, undermine, exclude. There is a kind of solidarity among women, born of shared suffering, shared understanding. But there is also division, because the system pits you against each other, teaches you that there is not enough approval, not enough safety, not enough good marriages, and that you must compete for your share, and so you form alliances and break them. You confide and betray. You help and hinder. You are never sure who is truly your friend and who is simply biding time until an opportunity to advance themselves at your expense. Let us consider the passing of years, because time does not stand still, even in a life as constrained as yours. You are aging, not quickly, not dramatically, but steadily, inevitably. The girl you were at 15 is not the woman you are at 25. Your face has changed, subtly. Your body has changed. Your understanding of the world has deepened, even if your place in it has not. But aging is dangerous for you in a way it is not for men. A man gains gravitas, authority, respectability with age. You lose value. Your marriageability peaks young, perhaps at 20, perhaps earlier, and then it declines. Each year that passes without a proposal is a year that makes the next proposal less likely. You are aware of this countdown. It is unspoken, but pervasive. You see it in the way your mother grows more anxious, more critical, more desperate to present you favorably. You see it in the way potential suitors evaluate you, weighing your youth and beauty, against your dowry and family connections. If you reach 30 without marrying, you are a spinster. The word itself is a kind of death sentence. It marks you as failed, as unwanted, as someone who could not fulfill the most basic expectation of womanhood, and yet part of you wonders if spinsterhood might not be so terrible. It would mean freedom from the performance of courtship, freedom from the terror of childbirth, freedom from the submission of marriage. It would also mean poverty, dependence on relatives, social invisibility. But perhaps invisibility is a form of freedom. Perhaps being unnoticed is better than being constantly watched. These thoughts are dangerous, and you push them away. You cannot afford to romanticize spinsterhood. You have seen spinsters, lonely, bitter, dependent. That is not a future you want. And so you continue the performance, the careful maintenance of your appearance, your behavior, your reputation. You continue hoping that the next visit, the next introduction, will result in an offer. You continue enduring. Let us consider the moments of clarity, because they come rarely, but they are devastating. There are moments when the structure becomes visible, when the performance drops away for just a second and you see clearly what you are doing, what is being done to you. It might happen when you are lacing your corset and you think, suddenly, why am I doing this? Who decided that this is necessary? It might happen when you are pouring tea for the 5th time that day and you think, this is all I do. This is my life. It might happen when you are sitting with your embroidery, surrounded by women doing the same thing, and you look around and think, we are all pretending this matters. We are all pretending we are content. These moments of clarity are brief. The structure reasserts itself quickly. You lace the corset because you must. You pour the tea because that is your role. You continue the embroidery because the alternative is to stop. And stopping would require confronting the emptiness, the futility, the cage. But the moments leave a mark. They accumulate. They create a kind of low-level awareness, a background hum of dissatisfaction that you cannot entirely suppress. You begin to notice things you did not notice before. The way your mother's voice tightens when she speaks to your father. The way your father does not look at your mother when she speaks. The way the servants move through the house like ghosts, invisible until needed. The way your brother comes and goes freely while you must ask permission. You begin to understand that the structure is not natural, not inevitable, not divinely ordained. It is made by people. It is maintained by people. It could, theoretically, be unmade by people. But understanding this does not give you power to change it. You are one person, one woman, with no money, no vote, no platform. Your understanding is useless except as a source of private torment. And so you learn to live with the clarity, to carry it like a weight, to let it settle into the background alongside the hunger, the fatigue, the constant vigilance. You learn to function despite it, to continue the performance even as you see through it. Let us consider the end of the day, because the day must end, even if it will simply repeat tomorrow. It is evening now. Dinner has been eaten. The drawing room endured, the rituals completed. You are in your room. The maid has unlaced you, removed the layers, left you in your chemise. You sit on the edge of your bed. Your body aches, your ribs, your back, your feet. You are tired in a way that goes beyond physical exhaustion. You are tired of performing, of controlling, of enduring. You think about tomorrow. It will be the same rising, the same dressing, the same meals, the same embroidery, the same tea. And the day after that, And the day after that, you think about the future, the one you are supposed to want. Marriage, children, more of the same in a different setting. You try to feel hopeful about this future, to believe that it will be fulfilling, meaningful, worthwhile. But mostly you feel nothing, not despair exactly, not resignation, just a kind of flatness, a numbness that has settled over you so gradually that you barely remember what it felt like to feel intensely, to want something badly, to imagine a different life. You lie down. The sheets are cold. You pull the blankets over yourself. You close your eyes. You are still hungry. You are always hungry, but you have learned to sleep through the hunger, to ignore it, to accept it as the price of being acceptable. You drift toward sleep, and as you drift, you allow yourself one small act of rebellion. You imagine, just for a moment, a different life, a life where you wake when you want to wake, where you dress in clothing that is comfortable, where you eat until you are full, where you speak your mind, where you move freely, where you are accountable only to yourself. The imagining is brief. It fades as sleep takes you, and when you wake, it will be dark again, and cold again, and time to begin again. This is a normal day in Victorian life, and it will continue until you die, or until something breaks, and nothing ever breaks, except sometimes it does. But that is another story.